Hey everybody, Dustin Pasalakwa, Certified Mortgage Planning Specialist here with Goldwater Bank. And the reason why I'm reaching out to you today is I'm going to be releasing a series of videos on the lending side, okay? Everything that there is to know about mortgages. And what I'm going to try to do is just educate the general public so you can make the most informed decision going forward. I feel that a lot of people in our industry do not take it the extra step. In knowing that this is going to be the largest financial debt that you ever take on, it's imperative that you understand everything that there is to know about a mortgage on the front and the back end. Okay, so the topic that I'm going to be touching base on today is going to be renting versus owning. Okay, and the reason why I'm bringing up this topic is I'm seeing a lot of misconceptions, a lot of chitter chatter over the internet. Does it make sense to buy? Does it not? Is the market going to crash, etc.? And what I want to reach out and get out to you is all the data that supports owning a home is definitely in your favor. Okay, real estate is going to be the most financially sound investment outside of the actual stock and bond market. Okay, and we're going to really dive into those numbers and the data behind the scenes so you can make that well-informed decision. Okay, so the first study that I want to bring up is the Zillow study. Okay, so they've been tracking data since 1988, and the median asking rent price increases at an average of 2% a year. Why do I find that very, very disturbing? Well, the reason being is because you're not building wealth when you're renting, okay? That real estate investor or whoever owns the complex or the home, they're collecting the money on you, okay? And purchasing a home is not a difficult process, okay? So that's going to be the one point that I want to start with. The second study that I want to bring up is the Federal Reserve study. So the Federal Reserve states that the average homeowner's net worth is over 44 times greater than that of an actual renter. One of the next studies that I want to bring up is the home price appreciation. Okay, so there's going to be a couple studies in here from the Mortgage Bankers Association, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the National Association of Realtors. And when you look at the data just over the next couple of years, the average appreciation rate is going to be 3%. A lot of people have this misconception that the market's going to take a downward turn, but there's no data backing that. There's no predatory loans anymore. The equity in people's homes is at an all-time high, and the default rate on mortgages is at an all-time low. Okay, I understand that we have the forbearance and the deferments, but you have to understand that at record numbers, people are pulling out of that. And forbearance and deferment, that's going to be another study or another topic that we're going to discuss in the future. So one of the last studies that I want to bring up is the Concentrix Analytics Survey. Now, I understand that we can look at the number and we can look at the data and see how it makes most financial sense to actually own a home compared to renting. But let's look at the emotional side. 93% said that owning a home made them happier. 88% agreed that it was the best decision that they've ever made. And finally, 79% said that they believe that it changed their life for the better. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to hop in and we're going to look at the numbers behind the scenes in a rent versus own analysis.
Okay, so now we're going to look at the numbers behind the scenes of renting versus owning. I just want to quick disclaimer, everything is subject to change. These are estimates based on qualifications and where the market sits on that particular day. But this will give you a pretty good understanding of kind of where the current market's sitting right now so you can see the numbers behind the scenes. Now, I'm using a $1,200 a month rent payment. And what I'm using is 4 different strategies of purchase prices at $150,000, $175,000, $225,000, and $250,000. These are all 30-year conventional fixed mortgages, 2.75% at 5% down for your down payment. So when I'm looking at this, let's take a look at the payment breakdown. So if we're renting at $1,200 a month, we know that nothing is being built up in equity. When we stop renting, there's no wealth accumulation, and we just go on to the next rental. Well, with purchasing a home, I'm going to focus on 4 different strategies, but we're really going to look at the $175,000 figure as I can go through this all day long and look at the numbers. But with that being said, as you can see, principal and interest is going to be about $581 on a monthly basis at a $150,000 purchase price with 5% down. It's going to be $678.70 at $175,000 purchase price, 5% down. $872.62 at $225,000, 5% down, and then $969.57 on a $250,000 mortgage with 5% down. So as you can see, the principal and interest is going to be well below that $1,200, but we're going to have some other things that are included with a mortgage that you won't have with renting, from property taxes, which are going to be dictated upon what city the area is in, what the county's assessing it at, so on and so forth. But we're just going to use the $350 on a monthly basis. Now, your homeowner's insurance, once again, it's going to be a hypothetical estimate. I'm going to say that's going to be somewhere around $900 a year. And then mortgage insurance, you are going to pay the mortgage insurance on a monthly basis based on, what your criteria is. They're going to look at, everything from credit, down payment, where you're buying, etc. But we're just going to estimate it at 0.3%. And I will cover mortgage insurance in another video and different strategies that you can do to work around that. So with that being said, if we were to take $175,000 purchase price, the payment with principal, interest, taxes, and insurance is going to be about $1,144.85 on a monthly basis, which is still under the $1,200. So why is this going to be a good investment? And we're going to go into that right now. So I like to take a short-term and a long-term approach to everything. And the reason being is because I don't know how long that you're going to be in the property for. If you had a certified mortgage planner, he should be asking you questions of, how long are you planning on staying in the property, what your monthly budget levels are, etc. But if we were looking at renting versus owning over just the next 5 years, well, if you've been renting at $1,200 a month, what you're going to pay is about $74,938, and I'm highlighting that right now. So let's take the $175,000 purchase price and let's look at the numbers behind the scenes. Well, if you were to stay in this property and you purchased this house for $175,000, you put 5% down, you had a base loan amount of actually $166,250. Well, with everything included, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, mortgage insurance, you're going to spend about $68,578 on that mortgage, okay? Still below the $74,938 that you would take in renting. Well, the neat thing is I'm highlighting it right now, is the principal paid. It's going to be about $19,125. What does that mean? Well, as I discussed in the introduction, every single month, a portion of your money goes towards principal and a portion goes towards interest. So I like to think of the principal as a forced savings account because that's money that you have built up. That's your money automatically, okay? So when I take the total amount of payments that you spend over the next 5 years with owning and I subtract it from the principal paid or your forced savings account, the net cost of a mortgage is actually $49,452. So that's one way that we're building wealth. Well, the second way that we're going to build wealth is the property growth of appreciation. And as discussed before, the average home growth appreciation rate across the U.S. is about 3.87%, and that was a study conducted by the National Association of Realtors beginning in 1989. So if you were to sell this property in the next 5 years, it's going to be worth about $212,914. Now, if you were just to make the amortized principal and interest payment over the next 5 years, the loan balance at 2.75 and a 30-year fixed mortgage will be about $147,125. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the real estate value, subtracting that from your actual loan balance, and the total equity that I'm highlighting right now is going to be about $65,790. If you were to sell your property and the house appreciated at 4% a year, which is backed by the NAR's data, you would net almost $66,000 off this investment. Now, if you were to sell or if you were to move from that rental, spending $1,200 a month with an annual rental increase at 2% a year backed by Zillow's data, you're going to net nothing. So that's going to be a short-term analysis. Now let's look long-term. Let's say that you stayed in this property for the next 15 years. Well, let's focus on the $175,000 purchase price. Well, if you were renting, you're going to spend about $249,025 at $1,200 a month based on a 2% rental increase. But with a mortgage, you're going to only spend about $202,121. That's with everything included. And when we look at the principal paid or your forced savings account, that's at about $66,238. So that's what you're going to build up just in principal. So when we look at the actual net cost of a mortgage, it's only going to cost you about $135,883. Still, almost $100,000. It's a little over $100,000 cheaper than renting. Now, when we look at that second facet of building wealth with that piece of real estate, well, the house is probably going to be worth about $315,000, $165, and that's based on a property appreciation rate of 4%, once again, backed by the NAR. And then when we look at the loan balance, well, if you were to make the amortized payment, it's about $100,000. And when we take the real estate value subtracted by your loan balance at $100,000, the total equity or the wealth that you build off of that investment is going to be about $215,153. So as we see, short term, you're going to be ahead of the curve. Long term, you're going to be ahead of the curve. So that's one of the things that most mortgage planners will not show you. So when you go to a financial advisor, what are they doing? Well, you're entrusting them with your money to show you what the net on your investments is going to accumulate over time. The same thing should be said for real estate, as this is the largest debt that you are ever going to take on. And I believe personally it's at the forefront of everything. So that's going to conclude our presentation for today, and we will be releasing another series of videos in the future. Thank you.